Here, I'll hold it. You can keep that going. I'm just kidding, you don't have to. This is my jam. This is what I start my paintings to. Hold on, you gotta hear the best. Anyways, good morning. Thank you guys for being here. I'm gonna have to catch my breath. I'm not that out of shape, but my nerves are going and I was dancing. Thank you for showing up today, not just for me, but for yourselves. I know it takes a lot of courage to kind of step out of your day-to-day and into a place with new faces, and you don't know where conversation might lead, so proud of you. Let's see. My name is Bek Barkocy, and I was approached by Mel to talk on the topic water. And when she approached me, I was like, oh, I could tell everyone about grace. Because to me, water just really encompasses grace in a physical sense. And so I'm going to kind of touch base on that. But before I dive in, I'm going to tell you a bit about myself, who I am, and I guess how I got here. My name is Bek Barkocy, and I am from Bethany, Oklahoma. So I'm born and raised Oklahoma City. It's about a 12-minute drive from here, depending on how heavy your foot is. I am number 5 in my family. My dad's actually here. I wasn't necessarily expecting him to be, but when he is out in public with me and someone recognizes him, he sometimes introduces me as number 5, which is fine because he follows it with Rebecca, the artist. But there's 8 of us, and so I'm number 5. I share the middle, but I think I took like that whole middle role on because I'm just like, someone see me, pay attention to me. And I grew up with all my siblings. It was never a boring moment. We always had fun, always had someone to play with. Number 6 is in here somewhere. She helped sign you in. Hey, girl. She's like my other half, and I'm not sure if it's unhealthy at this point. But we never got bored. If we got mad at one of them, we had 6 others to choose from, or we just hijacked all the neighborhood kids on the block so they were punished. And I always get asked if I'm the most creative or the only creative in the family, and to answer that, no. Both my parents have brilliant minds. All my siblings are creative in their own ways, I would say, with numbers and recipes and problem solving. I'm just the weird one that was like, I'm gonna make a living out of this. I'm just gonna paint color into the world. And so I went into college not really knowing what I wanted to do, but just knowing I wanted to make things and I wanted to do things with color. And I went to Southern Nazarene University, which is also in Bethany. I promise I tried to get out of there, but it just kept pulling me back in. I went there and I got a degree in graphic design because I could use colors and I could use fonts. I love typefaces. And just delved into that, but once I graduated, I realized that I don't like computers. And I like doing more things with my hands than I realized. And so I did freelance for a little bit because I'm the kind of person that just, you put me in a box and I escape. I don't really want to necessarily work underneath someone because structure makes me kind of panic. And so I did freelance for a little bit right out of college. Then I bartended for a little bit, naturally. And then I backpacked Europe with number 6 for a little bit. And when I got back stateside, I still had no idea what to do with my hands. So I remember I would just be scrolling through Instagram like we usually do. And I was comparing myself to all these designers I had followed, ones that had inspired me. And I was like, man, I want to be like them. Like, how do I get there? How do I get to that point? And at the time, the only logical approach to that would be to buy a school bus and renovate it into my house. And then I would move to some mountain range. It could be Asheville or the Rockies. And I would design stickers that would end up on Nalgene's and laptops across the world. But then what had happened was I was scrolling through Instagram, and a local shop here in Oklahoma City, which is actually 2 blocks down, they just reopened, shout out to Plant Shop, she was hiring. And so I applied, and Jen just took me under her wing, and she gave me this encouragement to be myself in all the creative ways. She let me work on her logo, the website. I got to do everything fun behind her company. And she really inspired me to dive into the community, and I found a love for that local business aspect here in Oklahoma City. And so I realized, man, there's so much to be done here. So I kind of got comfortable, and I got excited about giving back to my city instead of trying to move away to some mountains. And I would say it was actually New Year's Eve of 2017. I stayed home, and I had hot tea. And I just stayed home all night, and I went to bed around like 10:30. But that night I wrote down like what I wanted to see happen in 2018 and what I expected of myself and what God needed from me. And so I had a really quiet entrance into the new year, and I started Whole30 quickly after. And if any of you don't know about Whole30, it's kind of where you just eat a bunch of good foods for your body, but you cry a lot because you can't have Fun Dip and aspartame. But I did it for 4 months, and it was actually really beneficial to my mind. It brought a lot of clarity. And so those 4 months, I also squeezed in some training for a half marathon, which then turned into a full marathon because God was like, joke's on you, I need you for 26.2 miles. And he used all those training miles to just like pursue my heart and show me who I was in him and what my purpose was going to be in this city. So about March of last year, I gave my 2-week notice to Jen at the plant shop. And I was still holding on to another part-time job. And that's very inconsiderate. I didn't know that was on. I was still holding on to a part-time job just to help pay bills, but I knew that painting was where I needed to be because I had been running, and I don't recommend cramming training for a full into the half because you end up with injury. And so I had about 2 weeks where I had to sit still. I had such bad shin splints. I couldn't run. I couldn't do much. And in those 2 weeks, God was like, paint what running gives you. Paint that feeling. And so from that came my Joy series, which actually, I guess, debuted in a coffee shop called Clarity, which was very ironic to me because the whole marathon just really brought me clarity of what my purpose is. And it was like a visual representation of me running into my field of purpose. And March, I gave my 2 weeks, and once I finished that marathon, I quit my other job because I had so much clarity. I was like, okay. So in June of this past year, I went full-time into painting. And by July, I got on Creepy Craigslist, and I found an amazing studio. And so September, I moved into my own studio, which is a Forethought Co. I don't know if you follow that on Instagram, but it's beautiful. It has a lot of natural light, and I love it. And it all kind of happened just because of those 2 weeks where God needed me to be still with shin splints. I started to understand the meaning of grace. And so when they asked me to talk on water, I was like, oh, I have a lot to say. So I'll try to wrap it up into 20 minutes, but I want to start with, oh, there's water. I had a slide for it. What water meant to me while kind of delving into my, I guess, career and how it's affected how I go about my day-to-day. So my first slide is like when I'm a thirsty girl. I've got that Nalgene covered in stickers that I was going to design and stuff. But when I'm a thirsty girl, I like to drink some water. And when I pick up my water bottle, I am reminded of its transparent matter. And so when I'm just going and going and I'm not giving myself a break and I check my pace and slow down for a drink of water, I'm reminded of like where my heart should be. Am I being transparent in my intentions? Am I being transparent with the relationships I have within my business and with clients and also my home life, because it all overflows and just makes a big, beautiful like puddle. But it's just like a reminder when I'm thirsty to go back to the word, take a drink of water, and just find that pace that I need to get back to and being who I really am and checking myself and making sure that what I'm putting out there is my honest, raw, true self. And then my other one is when I'm a tired girl. My best way to find rest and rejuvenation is to get outside and chase skies and bugs and find flowers. Some of you like to take baths to rest. I don't necessarily love them, but when I get outside, I'm reminded of movement and the water that I run into when I'm on my hikes or whatever, my trails, is always moving. There's a current to it. It's not complacent. And so when I rest, I go outside, I get in nature, and I'm reminded to just keep going, to keep finding things to push me forward and to better myself, because if I'm just going to hang out in a stagnant, nasty pond, stuff's going to fester, and there's going to be bitterness and resentment, and I'm going to start to smell a little funky. And so I really just encourage you as creatives to not necessarily get outside, because I know some of you don't love that, but when you're feeling exhausted and spent and your best work isn't coming up, figure out what you need to do to rejuvenate and to slow down and refresh yourself. And with me, that's going outside and finding inspiration in nature. Usually whenever I do that, I come back and I have like amazing ideas and I'm just very inspired. But then comes in the busy girl. And that's when I have commissions on top of commissions, and I'm running workshops and art classes and all these things that I'm blessed to do. But I get caught up in them, and I see them more as a to-do list. And I need to remind myself, like, okay, this is what my purpose is. This is my why. And so instead of looking at it as a task, I kind of step back. And a lot of times when I paint, I don't know if you have seen my process at all, but I use a water bottle. And I did that in those 2 weeks that I had shin splints. He had me paint my Joy series, and I recognized I used this water bottle on every piece. And I was like, why do I do that? And it's because I would make these harsh lines, and I'd be like, oof, that really kills the composition, or that really just isn't what I was going for. But with a water bottle, I could spray the acrylic, and I could watch it run, and I could use a rag to kind of manipulate it into something with intention, and manipulate it into something more beautiful. And sorry, I got distracted. I just have to remind myself when I'm busy and I'm trying to knock all these off, that water comes in and it's grace. And same with my Creator. He put me in this purpose, and he comes in and he offers me that grace. He brings in that water bottle and manipulates all my screw-ups into something beautiful. And so with all of these things, with being transparent, non-complacent, and offering yourself grace, those are 3 ways that water have reminded me that I can stay flossy. And for those of you that don't know the meaning of flossy, people ask me that often, and it's really everything good, but to me it's the best version of you. It's you at your most beautiful, you at your most strong, independent. Like, even if you're crying, you're still flossy, you're being transparent. With transparency, finding ways to keep going forward, and offering yourself grace when things get tough and you get overworked and overwhelmed, you can always remember that water is grace-giving, and with that, you're going to be flossy. And so with grace, it's kind of just a reminder to be kind. And with being kind to yourself and others around you, you're going to attract those kind of people. They always say your vibe attracts your tribe, but it really is true. In my work so far, I've only worked with people that are transparent with their intentions up front. Everything is smooth sailing. And it's always been so rewarding because it's been a friendship that lasts after the work is done. So with today, I just want to remind you guys to take a drink of water, be kind, and stay flossy. Give yourself some grace when days get hard and when days get dark, because I know they do. But just check yourself, take that drink of water, get outside and rest yourself, and I don't doubt that you'll be as flossy as ever. But I think that about wraps it up. And then, do you want me to tell them about the stickers? You what?
Anybody else, like the whole time, sitting here going, I'm Flossy, like that song, like, yeah, I'm my name to go. Maybe is it? No, okay, it's fine. It's okay. Hannah Royce with Feeling Where You At. I know. Yeah, girl, thank you for that.
Hi, girl.
We have time for a Q&A. Do you guys have questions? Raise your hand. Hannah, local owner of this beautiful co-working space. Hannah,
So each month I do a workshop, and I call them a forethought gatherings. So they're like workshops with intention to come into my space and find healing, because that's a lot of what I find in my painting and my works. I start each layer or each canvas with affirmations and just positive words or song lyrics that are on my heart. And oftentimes I use that to paint out the negativity in my life or highlight the positivity that's coming towards me. And so I invite people into my studio to do that with me. And I've loved it because everyone that's joined has now started painting on their own with their friends on the weekends. And then they'll send me all these DMs of, look what I made. And I'm like, oh, that's so flossy. So I do those, and then I'm hoping to get some different kind of workshops going in. But I also allow other creatives to bring in their work and put on a workshop as well. So if you have information that you're wanting more on, you can holler at me. Anyone else? Oh, my sister is reminding me. Huh?
You're in trouble with her yet?
With my sister?
No, I'm just
I made some stickers for your water bottles and computers. So they're going to be handing them out at the back, and naturally they say be kind and stay flossy. But if anyone else has any other questions, I'd be happy to answer, or you can stalk me afterwards.
How much was that jacket?
50 cents. Shoulder pads included. Yes.
I saw on your Instagram that you did like some painting at a hospital, I think?
Yeah, I did a mural at a new hospital, and that was it's on 150th and Penn. It's an emergency room medical center, and they had me come in and paint the children's emergency room. And so they kind of just gave me an idea of what they wanted, but I don't know if they realized that I was writing prayers on all the wall. So I was like writing over head injuries and all the stuff that kids are going to come in there with and be anxious about. So that was just really cool. That was my first time to do that. I just got to wrap the walls and all of that, and then I painted my version of Mount Scott with a bunch of buffalo. So thank you for asking about that. Anything else?
Oh yeah. Where's your favorite place to hike or go?
I do love. My dad usually takes us if we go to Mount Scott. That's really fun. But he also takes us rattlesnake hunting. For a quick getaway, because I get distracted very easily, I go to Martin Nature Park, and I just put my headphones in sometimes and listen to Lauren Daigle or something expected. And I collect dead bugs and rocks. But yeah, mostly I'll just escape over there really quickly because I got to get back to stuff. But yeah.
So I've seen some of your paintings, and they seem very influenced by sunset skies. Is that where most of your inspiration is coming from right now in your paintings?
Apparently, I think. I mean, it's not what I expected, but people keep pointing that out, and I think the winter months are always really hard for me in my headspace. I can disappear into this dark space and not know how I got there, and I know there's a lot of people that do the same thing. I can be smiling and laughing one minute, and then I'm like, today just is awful. I'm not talking to anyone. I'm blocking everyone. And so luckily on my studio, I have this rooftop that I think I'm allowed to get on. It's the top of a warehouse, and I get up there and I just watch the sunsets, and sometimes the sun rises, but I think that God really just promises me His goodness in those each morning and each evening, because the nighttime hours are my hardest. So it's kind of like He puts these end caps on the nighttime hours for me. Yeah.
You took a big leap of faith, and I'm wondering what you've learned from your first year of being full-time.
Oh, yeah, it was a leap of faith, and I think that even my family was kind of like, what's she doing? But it's usually a surprise. I did that in June, and I honestly had no idea how finances were going to be, and I'm not a numbers person, but I wake up every day, and before my feet hit the floor, I tell God, I'm like, take today, take my paintbrushes, take all of it, do what you need to do. And I've never been let down, so I just keep showing up because He's waiting for me to show up. I know that sounds interesting, but I just have a really solid faith that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do and it'll all work out and be provided for. And so far I haven't been let down, and I've had fun doing it. So, maybe one more if anyone has one.
Are you doing the marathon this year?
I'm supposed to be doing the half marathon with my other half, but I'm a little out of shape right now. But I might cram it into a 5K training, naturally. So, all right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming. I appreciate it.